All right, back to school time. That means it's time to get your kids physicals for school sports, even if they don't play sports. It's a good idea. Joining me right now, Dr. Margaret Rush, a pediatrician with ProHealth Physicians in Bristol. Just got to meet you a second ago. Good morning. Thanks for taking the time to be with us today. Okay, so first things first, tell us, why would a sports physical be a good idea for, I guess you could say, every student, regardless of whether or not they play sports? So
sports physicals or general physicals are important for everyone. They can identify not only anything that might impact their ability to play sports, but can also identify any mental health issues that might be going on, any other injuries that might be going on, any other things going on in their life that might be worth further investigation. That sounds like it's more expansive than even I thought it was going to be, that dealing with the mental health with things like that. How can people come into ProHealth Physicians and go about setting one of these up? So people can look online and look for ProHealth Physicians. We have locations all over the state. They can find a new primary care provider. We have both a lot of physicians, a lot of advanced practice nurse practitioners and physician's assistants, all of whom are more than capable of doing physicals for kids. And kids will need, if they are doing sports, they need to have a sports physical within 13 months of the prior year before they can participate. And it's really important to get an appointment if they haven't already as soon as possible, because it does take time to do, and we want to make sure they're not going to miss starting their sport if they're doing a fall activity. So yeah, now let's talk about sports. I think the two biggest concerns, at least from a parent's perspective, heat and concussions. Let's start with heat. What do you need to know? People still confuse heat stroke, heat exhaustion, heat-related problems. What are those first signs of heat exhaustion, which would be sort of the first step on that? Exactly. So heat exhaustion precedes heat stroke. Remembering heat stroke can be deadly. Heat exhaustion, if someone is out in the sun, if they're overweight, if they haven't been practicing consistently all summer, they're at higher risk. Heat exhaustion, you can have nausea, you can have vomiting, you can have excessive sweating, feeling thirsty, you can have dark urine. I would highly recommend that coaches and also teammates and friends, if they notice if someone is acting differently or not themselves, that they get that person some fluids, get them in the shade, get them to rest. They should be wearing cool, loose clothing. Yes. And just get them rehydrated. And I'm imagining if they go from profusely sweating to not sweating at all, that's a real bad sign. Correct. It's not a sign things are getting better. In the time we have, concussions too. Yep. Sometimes they can happen, and sometimes they can build up subconcussively, and all of a sudden start presenting symptoms you might not think. So what should you look for there? So with concussions, so remembering concussion can be very subtle. It doesn't have to be a massive injury. It doesn't have to be a major hit on the field. It can be a very minor injury. Yeah. So being on the lookout for restlessness, lethargy, fatigue, a change in the person's personality, a change in their ability to focus or concentrate, wanting to sleep more than usual, sleep less than usual. Certainly if they're having anything like seizures, loss of consciousness, or a significant change, they should be brought to the emergency department. Of course, but I like a lot of those other more subtle ones, because you could, if you're not careful, attribute them to other causes. Keep in mind that it could be concussions, especially if your child didn't get his or her bell rung in an obvious way. Thank you, Dr. Rush, for taking the time to join us today. You're very welcome.